What is up, guys? Ninja Nick 333. We are back for round 3 of OCIC, the Oceania International Championships for the Pokemon trading card game. We got Natalie Miller on the right, who is a player who has won, I think, multiple regionals. And I'm not sure, I don't really know the player on the left at all. I'm gonna have to see that name again as well. It would be nice if they could put the prize cards up at all times, but I understand why they don't do that. It'd be nice to utilize this space. Instead of just putting card features, they could put both the prize cards here in this space. They could still even fit the Pokemon. But it looks like Daichi is playing maybe Control. That is the Evital from the, oh God, what's it called? Celebration set? The 25th anniversary one. You can see we have the Pikachu 25 stamp, and they just have a box that says 25. I think, in my opinion, this looks so much better than the Pikachu stamp. I think the Pikachu stamp is just tacky. And this looks really good. I love how Japanese cards looks. The hollows are just better. They have the silver borders, which thankfully we're finally getting. And their stamps are just better, too. Looks like, we do have Natalie using the Evolution Incense, likely probably getting something along the lines of an Arrow or Archeops, probably playing that deck. Yeah, looks like we are searching and verifying which energy cards are prized. As I say, this is very important to check your prize cards, especially in a deck like Lugia, where you need to know your counts on things like Aurora energy, any of your colored special energies. You want to make sure you have access to your V-Guard energy if you're playing against another V deck. You want to know how many powerful colorless energies you have to see if you can reach for Lugia one-shots in the mirror and things like that. It looks like they are showing Galar Mine on screen, so I am assuming that this is the control deck that Daichi is playing. Also interesting to note, this is another Japan versus Australia match. Natalie being an Australian player and Daichi being a Japanese player. Yeah, I don't know much about Daichi. I don't know if he's well known or not, but Natalie did start the Manaphy. She did go, I think she went first. It's a little hard to tell with the way they direct the internationals, but we do have the Evo Incense, got the Archeops, the Quick Ball away, the Archeops to get the Lugia V. We've already prize checked all our energies. Or no, we benched the Lugia V, we're still, oh no, we're gonna capture energy to get the Snorlax. Yep, so Quick Ball for Lugia, capture energy for Snorlax. And we're going to retreat into the Snorlax because it has the most HP and pass. She probably already knows what she's playing against if she sees the Cry of Destruction Evital on the bench. We do see a Sydney already from turn 1. She's got a, looks like Heat Fire Energy and Choice Belt, so those will likely be selected. Yep, because that can discard up to 2 in any combination of tools, special energy, and stadium cards. So yeah, the Heat Fire being gone could matter. We do get a Yell Horn, will confuse both active Pokemon. Will not matter for Daichi because he will not be attacking with that Greninja in this matchup. But very important for Natalie, she now has a confused Snorlax. Technically, if she flips heads for confusion, she'll then put herself to sleep with the Snorlax and have to flip double heads to wake up anyway. And that will essentially heal the confusion by putting it to sleep instead. You can only be one of paralyzed, confused, or asleep at a time because those are directions that the cards face. But you can be poisoned and burned at the same time, and also be poisoned and burned at the same time as one of the directional ones: poison, or paralyze, confuse, asleep. Looks like we are flipping for confusion, and we flip that. Looks like a Tails. Yes, that's a Tails. So Snorlax ends up doing 30 damage to itself instead of attacking after we got the Summoning Star for, unfortunately, only one Archeops, and then the double turbo capture from the Snorlax. The Snorlax would, I think... No, it would be... I think it does 180, right? So it would be doing 160. That would have been enough to knock out, so... Unfortunate that there was a Tails flip there, but Natalie's going to have to be relying on a lot of heads flips during this game to get out of confusion and then to get out of her own sleep that she'll put herself in. Looks like we do go for Colress's experiment, Lost Zoning, a Lost City, and a Hisuian Heavy Ball. Looks like Daichi already knows the contents of his deck, maybe, and knows that he does not need the Hisuian Heavy Ball. We are going to concealed cards away the Wash Water Energy because we do not need that in this matchup. We will not be attacking with Ice Cube, and we will not be needing to protect Manaphy from Sableye. So those are the two uses for the Wash Water. We are going to get a big Leon Cape thing onto the Radiant Greninja so that it has more HP. The Cape of Toughness, thank you Pokemon for putting that on screen so I can remember its name, where it gets 50 more HP. That means that it will live an attack from the Snorlax, but it looks like the Yveltal got bossed up instead, and the Snorlax was able to flip heads. Wow. The Snorlax was able to flip heads for confusion and then double heads to heal itself from sleep, thus healing itself from confusion as well. That is amazing. That's 3 heads in a row. That's exactly what Natalie was looking for after that first Tails flip. We do see yet another Colress's experiment coming down from Daichi. It is also important for Natalie to make sure she picks off those Yveltals, because those are the most threatening card in the deck for her against Daichi here, because that is the one that discards up to 3 special energy cards your opponent has. And of course, Natalie being a Lugia deck will only be playing special energy. And with only 1 Archeops in play, can only get a maximum of 3 energy into play at a time too. So it's not even possible that she can recover really from an Yveltal in this situation. So it might have been better to actually hold off to get a second Archeops, but then even still, you just want to get going against a control deck as fast as possible. So it's really hard to make the call as to what is more correct, but I'm sure Natalie's put a lot of games in against this deck and knows exactly how to beat it with Lugia. Lugia is by far the best deck in the format right now. It is the most versatile. And it relies on colorless Pokemon, and then Pokemon that can utilize those Aurora energies, so it can really just do anything. We do see the Snorlax with Gourmandize being benched with a Capture Energy to get another Yveltal onto the bench. Natalie is going to want another Boss's Orders as soon as possible. The Lugia deck usually plays at most 2 Boss's Orders, and the Serenas that she may or may not play are unable to get regular Pokemon. But it looks like she's going for the Snorlax instead of the Yveltal. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think that's probably correct, because you want to make sure your opponent can't Gourmandize, but also if he already just has the double colorless or any type of double colorless, whether it be twin or double turbo, it's already going to be knocking out your energies in play with the Yveltal, so you might want to just take that out. But it looks like we do get 3 energy attached during the full turn onto the Lugia. We do flip for confusion for heads, and then flip tails, become asleep, and then flip at least 1 tails for sleep, so we stay asleep. That Snorlax, normally Snorlax is a Pokemon that has to, well, normal Pokemon only have to flip 1 coin for sleep to see if they wake up or not, but Snorlax being so, you know, thick and slumbery that it does have to flip 2 coins. This specific Snorlax, that's its ability. We do see the concealed cards getting rid of yet another Wash Water Energy, is going to dig into that Yveltal, another one with the Cry of Destruction, And also, we're going to get that Regieleki on the bench. We're not using it for its second attack like we are in the Regi deck. However, we are going to be using it for the first attack, which allows you to, I think it's called Electromagnetic Radar. It allows you to get an item card back from your discard pile. So that is a really good card in control decks. So it's pretty cool how versatile Battleki is, even though we call it Battleki. There is also the Cry of Destruction, and that got rid of all of the energies off of the Lugia. Looks like Daichi is not too scared of the Snorlax, likely because it does have to flip double heads in order to wake up from sleep. And yeah, she flipped, oh, double heads again. Wow. I have a lot of opponents against me flip double heads with their Snorlax in Lost Box mirrors all the time. It's really annoying. One of the many, many reasons I don't play Lost Box anymore. We do finally see the Galar Mine come down. That could be very important. If you boss's orders up something like the Archeops or even the Manaphy in the future, it will have an additional 2 retreat cost. So if you boss up Manaphy, it has a 3 retreat cost. You'll have to use an entire Archeops charge just to retreat it, and then it just gets bossed up again. The Regieleki does come up as well. So we will, with the capture energy, to get a Miltank as well, which is interesting. The Miltank doesn't really do much against the Snorlax, but if you can remove those energies off the Snorlax, then maybe the Miltank can come in clutch. And we are recycling the Yellhorn, which is hilarious. And we also have a Cape of Toughness on this, so it's at 130, plus 50 is 180. Because of the double turbo, it won't be able to take a one-shot, so you do have to charge a powerful colorless energy onto the Snorlax. That is funny that the Cape of Toughness does force that extra energy into play, which will be able to potentially be discarded by the Yveltal. So Snorlax is attacking. We flip 1 heads. 2 heads. So wakes up again. That's 3 triple. That's triple double heads. That's insane. Go Natalie. I wish I could flip coins like that. Oh, and KO is back. All right. Gotta love it. Let's not watch the game. Let's just watch the screen in the back. And looks like Daichi must have scooped. Yeah, I'm assuming that Daichi scooped. I can't tell because the camera was not on the game. Because we had to make sure that we knew that there was a KO on that previous turn. We have to see that. All right, let's see if we could skip ahead just slightly into the game. We're gonna pause here in case we can see the prize cards, because it looks like we might have been able to see the prize cards here. Stop spinning, please, YouTube. YouTube pulls. Okay, well, they're done shuffling at least. Ice Cube in hand is not really good for Daichi. He doesn't want to see that in this matchup. Yeah, again, nothing too relevant is prized. One of the Gormandized Snorlax for Daichi, so he might be in a situation like Game 1 where he has less options in order to draw. He didn't really Gormandize. I don't think he Gormandized once in the previous game. Maybe one time, because I do remember seeing it. No, it was bossed up. So yeah, he did not Gormandize once in the previous game. We do quick ball away the Ice Cube immediately. That's exactly what you like to see. And also brand new alt art for Dunsparce on Natalie's side as the starter. Gotta love that Dunsparce. Can we, do you think there's a way that Natalie can put 4 powerful colorless energies on this Dunsparce and hit for 110? I would love to see that. I think that's a horrible play in this matchup, but that's something I would love to see someday. If anybody actually has a clip of somebody doing that, like on PTCGO or IRL, please tweet it at me, for the love of God. I need to see that. I haven't been able to make it happen myself. So we do get the Evital Cry of Destruction down again, and we've started the Mill Tank, so we really can't attack with Lugia since that Mill Tank is the one that's active here. Also, I gotta say again, those hollows from Japan are just so nice. Not only is the picture hollow, but so is the border, the silver border around the cards. So we do get into that Snorlax. We might be able to see a single Gormandize this game, hopefully. Seeing as we haven't seen one yet. And there it is! There it is! We got there! We did it! We've Gormandized. Delicious. Nutritious. Look at that face there. He's happy. We do capture energy for the Lugia. We do need that in play in order to get the Archeops into play. Natalie is putting all her energy to the front so that she can prize check her energies yet again, because again, that is the most important thing to prize check in this deck. You need to know your counts of your Auroras. You need to know your counts of powerful colorless energies. You need to know how many captures you have to see if you can draw into it to get set up. You need to know if you have your V-Guard energy if you're against a V deck, but not in this case. It doesn't really matter. Mostly just the Auroras and powerful, I think. If she's playing Raikou, it would be super nice to see that attack, because she could potentially take 2 prizes in one turn. However, as soon as the Cry of Destruction Evital comes into play, it'll knock off 3 Aurora energy, and then she'll never be able to attack with that Pokemon again. So that's like a double-edged sword in that regard. So it's something that she could potentially do at some point, but unlikely that that'll be a good play. Looks like we do see a capture energy going down to the Evital. We're not going to be seeing Cry of Destruction yet, most likely because there are no energies in play for Natalie. So why would you do anything besides just set up? So not only does that power up the Evital halfway, but it also gets another Evital into play. This game is going a lot more preferably for Daichi this time. Also, love his shirt. Look at that. The Pikachu. I'm not always a big fan of Pikachu, but that actually looks a little nice with the purple on the black there. We also get another Gormandize Snorlax, so Daichi is completely set up, really. All we need is just double colorless things in hand, like twins and double turbos to attack with Evital, but even a capture energy wouldn't be terrible either. We also see the Dunsparce was brought back up to the active again using that boss's orders. So that is going to have to retreat again, and more importantly, for a 3 retreat cost because of that Galar Mine that is now in play, increasing the retreat cost by 2. Natalie does go for the Evo Incense into the Archeops. We are going to also capture energy. We are going to go for that Gormandize Snorlax again because she knows that the risk-reward is pretty good with that. We are also going to Quick Ball away that Archeops to get the Luminion in order to search for the Marnie. Daichi does have a fairly big hand because of the Gormandize. He has 7 cards. And that Marnie will limit his options going into the next turn. This could potentially stop a... this could stop a Cry of Destruction from happening, potentially. So we'll have to see if that ends up actually working out for her. So Daichi draws 4, Natalie draws 5. Do we get a Lost Vacuum or Replacement Stadium? Lugia usually plays 1 to 2 Lost Vacuums and 0 to 1 Collapse Stadium most of the time. It looks like Daichi thought that Natalie passed the turn, but she did not yet, and now she did. It's a little hard when you both speak different languages when you're playing the card game. Usually, like, you just know what the cards do. So that's like one of the interesting things about international championships is that you'll play against somebody that the two of you do not share a language at all. Like, your opponent can just not understand a single word you say, but you can just point at the cards and you can have an entire game and be able to communicate through cards. And I think that's one of the coolest aspects of not only Pokemon, but like really any card game. I think mostly for Pokemon because the cards themselves are so simple enough, they always do what they say. there's not too many complicated interactions. Unlike Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, where they can just have multiple stacks and there's a lot of explanation that needs to go into stuff like that. But with Pokemon, you can literally just sit down at a table with anybody in the world and you can essentially have a conversation through cards. Natalie is using that professor's research, discarding, it looks like Lugia Evital and Archeops as well. So there are 2 Archeops in there. We're going to see if we can get into that Lugia VStar, and we can. We have the Evo Incense to get there, so we do. We are probably going to be using the Summoning Star this turn to get those 2 Archeops into play. The only question is there a way out of that stadium so that the Dunsparce can retreat for just the 1 capture energy and get an actual attack this turn? Or are we going to have to waste an additional 2 energy cards on the Dunsparce in order to retreat? Looks like we are doing just that. So we're going to want to do that maybe powerful colorless and double turbo onto the Snorlax. It looks like she probably hasn't attached for turn yet. I think that capture energy might have been from last turn. No, that capture energy might have been from this turn. She might use rollout this turn. That would be fun. Okay, so she does do the retreat. She has not attached yet, so she does attach the V-Guard energy. And the Snorlax is able to attack. We'll take the knockout, and there is at least 1 Tails, so that Snorlax will stay asleep this time. The Miltank gets promoted. Looks like Daichi is not willing to use the Cry of Destruction yet. Not quite sure why. I would definitely be going for the Cry of Destruction here. There are 3 energy in play, and the Snorlax is asleep, so I don't see any reason why not to do that. Unless he was planning on, maybe playing Bird Keeper to draw more cards, but as you can see right now, he's using the Colress. Gets rid of a double turbo and an Echoing Horn. We are going to put a Twin Energy onto the Miltank. Oh, the Miltank, because you can attack with it, duh. I'm thinking of it for the Miracle Body ability and not for the Route attack. So it is doing 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 110 damage right now. So the Snorlax is not knocked out. Yeah, so if I were Daichi, I would just put the dice on the Snorlax for Natalie. She flips double tails this time, so definitely staying asleep. So this Snorlax is not working out for her like it did the first game. She utilized all her coin flip heads on game 1, and there's none left for game 2. So yeah, I like Daichi's play going in this way, is able to 2-shot the Snorlax, knowing, okay, she flipped so many heads game 1 that it's highly likely that she'll flip at least 1 tails on this next flip. So if I can 2-shot it with the Miltank, then then whatever comes up next, I can remove the energy that way, save my Evitals for use later, especially since there are 2 Archeops into play. She can get a lot more energy in play every turn that way, so yeah, we'll have to see if Daichi can overcome the Lugia, because even though I would say this is a little bit favored for control, I wouldn't say that Natalie is a bad enough player to not be able. She's a good enough player to play around the control, you know what I mean? Yep, she is going for the Luminion, so this is what I mean here. The only problem with this is the Miltank is immune to damage from the V Pokemon, like the Luminion. But we're going to go for a second Luminion, playing Boss's Orders to get rid of the Evital. Then we will charge up this Luminion in order to be able to attack with it, which is amazing. Yeah, you attach for turn. Looks like we're discarding Radiant Charizard. I do like that new art of Radiant Charizard a lot better than the Pokemon Go one. We promote the other Luminion after we shuffle the first one back into deck and knock out that Evital. So yeah, it looks like Daichi's like, well, I need more cards, so I'm going to promote the Snorlax first. I'm not going to promote the Miltank this turn. Which does allow Natalie to do the same play again. She can Luminion again. And then KO! Yeah. We can Luminion again next turn, and then attack with the active Luminion again. Oh, but we are going to get confused, though. So that could help. That could help Daichi's cause here. We are going to scoop up net. We are going to put that Miltank up. So we're going to damage it, and then hope it stays confused so that it does not shuffle itself back into the deck. And then the Miltanks will be able to two-shot. And we see a Bruno. There was a knockout taken by Natalie not last turn. So since the opponent has taken a prize card, Bruno, well, has taken a knockout, I should be specific. Bruno shuffle draws 7 instead of 4. Yeah, normally Bruno shuffle draw 4. If your opponent took a knockout, shuffle draw 7. It is probably the most playable card that nobody plays. It's a little situational, and it's really only good in one prize decks. And most of the time, Marnie is just better for disrupting your opponent's hand. But I think in this case, it might be warranted. Looks like we are going for the Hisuian Heavy Ball. We are going to check our prize cards to see if there are any Pokemon in there. We can get perfect information on the prize cards, not even have to prize check at all now. Looks like we are going to get that. That's the other Snorlax that's not the Gormandize one. That's the one that Natalie's playing. It's just the original artwork for it. Actually, I think that might have been the Snorlax that he put down in the first game. So even though it was taken out, I don't think he had a Gormandize Snorlax either way. So again, it's a little hard when you don't see the text on the cards because they're in a different language. You can sometimes get your cards mixed up because there's so many different cards of the same Pokemon and of the same trainers. I know that there was a local Winnabox that I had gone to, and I didn't end up playing him until the last round where it didn't even matter. But he was playing Full Art Lysander instead of Boss's Orders. And one of my friends was like, hey, bud, that's not a legal card. That's an expanded card. And he's like, yeah, but they just reprinted it. They were like, they printed Boss's Orders with Lysander art. They didn't reprint Lysander. So the card is not necessarily what the art says. The card is what the text says. It's the lesson to take away from there. Also very important to note, so Japanese players are on average very good, but their formats that they play in are, I believe, 30 minutes best of 1. Yeah, I believe it's 30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes best of 1. They do not play best of 3 normally. So it's always interesting to see if they can play really fast or play really slow. And I think a deck like Daichi's might not be very good for best of 1. So he might be playing this deck specifically because he knows it's better for a best of 3 format. So the Japanese players sometimes explore different decks than they would normally do. Also, Japanese players tend to be very good deck builders. You usually see a lot of off-the-wall things being played to a very high level at internationals and worlds. So I always love to see them on stream, not only because their cards are prettier than ours, but because you can always just see something unique. Unfortunately, we've seen this control deck before, so. And we've seen Lost Box Goodra before, which our other Japanese player was playing. So hopefully we see a Japanese player playing something original later in the tournament. We are seeing the double Archeops go off. We do have a fully powered up. Oh, I thought it was double Archeops. I only see... Oh yeah, okay. So we used double Archeops to power up the one Archeops. And then we attach for turn for retreat. Because there's no Galar Mine in play right now. And that Dunsparce was able to retreat into the Archeops. Or no, the Luminion was able to retreat into the Archeops, and now we can take the knockout with that on the Miltank. Because Miltank is not protected from one prizers. It's only protected from Pokemon V. We are going to see the Greninja use its concealed cards, I believe, again. Looks like Daichi's putting his special energies to the bottom of the deck to make sure he has track of all that. At least the colorless ones. We do discard that wash energy because, again, that is not really important for this matchup. We are going to quick ball away the Starly, which can attack for free on a turn that you play Bird Keeper, which is really funny. And that attack does allow you to search your deck for 2 cards. So it's kind of like, it's almost like playing a 5th Snorlax in a way. Snorlax lets you draw more cards, but the Starly lets you get specific cards out that you may need. We are finally going to be seeing the Cry of Destruction. We are going to discard all 3 of the energies that are on that Archeops. A little unfortunate Daichi had to overcommit. It would have been better if he could have just, say, maybe attached another Capture energy to fulfill that attack cost and then leave the double turbo for another Evital. But just wasn't in the cards for that pun there. Looks like Natalie is saying, hey, I can't win from this point, so I'm just going to give you the game. And Natalie does say that she will go first in Game 3 as well. Oh, looks like we got Shemansky on stream as the stream judge this round as well. One of the best judges in the game, in my opinion. Even being so kind as to pick up a card that was just dropped from Daichi off the floor. Let's see if we can just skip ahead because we're pile stacking right now. Never pile stack between games. It just costs time and it's not shuffling. Fine in best of 1, but not in best of 3. Even though it effectively does nothing, because you still have to shuffle your deck after you stack it. Quick ball away the, it looks like Stoutland V, that might be. I think that's the newer art of Stoutland, the lesser art in my opinion. And again, we are sorting all of the energies to the front of the deck. Very important to get those energy counts that are in your prize cards known on turn 1 so that you can plan accordingly. You don't want to put a Raikou in play when you have 2 Aurora's prize and don't play Lightning because then you can just not be able to attack. Things along those lines. Also, Natalie is a note taker, as we can see. She does have a notepad. I think more people should be doing that, especially when you're prize checking. Being able to write down what you know is in your prize cards. Also, she did just shuffle the deck, so she cannot be searching anymore. Shuffling the deck is the last action. Yeah, so she should have failed that quick ball because she started shuffling the deck. But it looks like we're not going to interfere with that for some reason. And powerful colorless energy, attach, and pass. So it looks like Natalie is really going in with the Snorlax. She really believes that that is the best strategy. I don't disagree, but it just feels off having to flip that many heads. So we are going to Lost Zone Ice Cube and Quick Ball with a Colress's Experiment that finds us a Radiant Greninja that discards our Wash Water energy to draw 2 more cards, so everything pretty much going Daichi's way in that regard, but I don't see a look. Nope, there's 1 Evital in hand, and there are a couple of double colorless type energies in hand as well, so we will be able to use Evital's Cry of Destruction, but no Snorlax yet to be able to Gormandize, so it looks like we are going to Quick Ball away the Manaphy and get that Gormandize Snorlax. Very important to stack your hand up with a bunch of good cards early in the game if you are this control deck. We are going to bench that Snorlax, and we're going to, looks like Echoing Horn, probably bringing back that Stoutland that was discarded. Yep, we are. That's not good for Natalie, because that thing has a 3 retreat cost, so under Galar Mine, it'll have a 5 retreat cost. So as soon as that comes active, that's going to have to be her attacker for the game. We are getting a double turbo onto a Lugia and a, looks like, Research, discarding powerful colorless Archeops boss's orders. Looks like we also have Evo Incense and Ultra Ball, so we will be able to search up an Archeops if we do not already have one, and then discard it with the Ultra Ball. Looks like we are eyeing up the Lugia V, though. Okay, yes, because she's planning her Ultra Ball out already. So she is Ultra Balling away the Archeops she just got off of that Evo Incense to get the Lugia VStar, and we are going to use Summoning Star to get the 2 Archeops into play. Also important to note, the Japanese players do have both Scarlet and Violet sets right now. So in order to play in this tournament, they actually have to play a previous standard format that they are no longer in. I believe they've also had rotation, I want to say, as well. So they have access to a lot of older cards and no access to the newest set, which is kind of funny and interesting. Yep, and we see the Archeops using the ability to stack up the Lugia and just an attack, taking the knockout. Putting the camera over to the KO screen so we can't watch what's going on. And then we get a, looks like a new Gormandized Snorlax here. The important thing to note is the double turbo is 2 energy in 1. So if Daichi is able to discard those energies, he'll be able to discard all 4 of Lugia's attack costs off of just the 1 attack, discarding 3 energy. And that's exactly what happens after the Stoutland becomes active. So that Stoutland does have a heavy attack cost. It does have to attack for 4 energies, and it damages itself as well when it does its attack. The first attack does 40 for 3 energy, and that's not a very cost-effective attack. And it will be staying active most likely as soon as a Galar Mine stays in play. Plus, it just has a 3 retreat cost, so unless Natalie has access to some sort of switching card, she's not going to be moving that Stoutland. We are going to double Archeops for 3 capture energy, it looks like. And maybe we have an attach for turn in hand, because I would have liked to see all 4 energies so you can take that knockout. Yep, we do have the 4th energy as a powerful, so we are going to do the Wild Tackle for 230 to itself. So if it attacks enough times, I mean, Natalie would probably win in 5 more attacks before the Stoutland knocks itself out. But, you know, if that Miltank does enough damage here, you know, then the Stoutland can really knock itself out later in the game. So this is a pretty awful position for Natalie, in my opinion, having to attack with that Stoutland. Especially if Daichi can find the Galar Mine this turn somehow. That would be really bad for Natalie, because then she has a 5 retreat cost Stoutland. And it's essentially the same at that point as playing 1 Archeops instead of 2. So it looks like we are searching our deck. What are we getting? Looks like we're eyeing up. Looks like we're eyeing up the Eldegoss, but we're going for the Cry of Destruction Evital instead. That is pretty good to get into play, because that could discard all of those energies that are in play. At least half of them. I believe we have, yep, another Evital in hand as well. So he searched the new one and benched it, but is hiding the information that there is another Evital in his hand. I think you might as well just bench it. I don't see any reason why not to. We don't have the energy to attack, it looks like, with the Miltank, so we are just going to pass. And it looks like, oh yeah, if you only put 1 Evital down, it does also feign Natalie into a little bit of a sense of comfort using a boss's orders, and then the next turn you can just put down another Evital and be like, okay, you just kind of wasted your boss, because I still have it. So yeah, you can see he just moves the Evital back to the front of his hand yet again. So sometimes you can play a little bit of a mind game in Pokemon like that. Looks like he's thinking of promoting the Radiant Greninja, which is a bit of an odd choice in my opinion. I'm not sure why you would promote that over the Miltank that can't get knocked out. And he is counting Natalie's energy as well. He wants to know how many she potentially still has access to. Because he knows most Lugia decks only play 16 energy. There are 5 in play, 4 in discard pile, which is 9, which means there are 7 left between deck, hand, and prize cards. So if he's able to get off 2 to 3 more Evital attacks, he can just kind of win the game. Yep, so we are going to Bird Keeper into the Evital. Oh, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I'm not tired. I apologize, guys. We do get the twin energy off of that Bird Keeper, it looks like, thankfully. We also get a double turbo, and it looks like maybe another Evital is in hand as well. I would have liked to see that get benched. And yeah, just using that Cry of Destruction again, discarding 3 of those energies. And I have mentioned it before, it would be a little fun to see this deck play some sort of Fan of Waves in order to get rid of that 4th energy off of the Stoutland, because that would mean that Natalie has to use both Archeops and an Attach for turn in order to get that Stoutland going again. Yep, now he's counting again. There should be 7 energies in the discard pile. There's 2 in play, which is still 9. We get 3 energy charged up onto the Luminian. Jesus Christ, Nick. We are going to Bird Keeper into the Luminian. Yeah, so I'm always curious as to why they sometimes overcharge onto the Luminian just to put it back in the deck. Like, you didn't need to get that one of those energies. You could have left one of those Auroras or V-Guards in the deck and then still get the same effect out of it. So it like feels just kind of like wasting time putting the extra energy on and shuffling it back in. Like, it probably only costs like another second on average for all the actions, but still. I understand why she attached the energy for turn, though. She wanted that back into the deck where it's safe from a Sydney. Yeah, so attaching the Aurora there was fine, especially since she was able to discard an Archeops off of it. And KO! The cool thing about this matchup is Daichi doesn't really take KOs very often, so we don't see that KO screen much coming from his turns. Alright, and we do draw for turn. Yeah, Natalie was unable to attack, it looks like. Did she not want to commit the energies to the Snorlax and go through the Milk Tank? She has the powerful colorless, so she's definitely... Or she probably assumed that the Stoutland was going to get brought back up again, which is exactly what happens. So that way, those energies are saved for the Stoutland, but again, how are you going to get through the Milk Tank if you didn't attack with that Snorlax last turn? But yeah, if Daichi is able to put down a second Milk Tank too, that could also be the end of Natalie as well, as long as you can get another Cry of Destruction off. Yeah, if he does like one more Cry of Destruction and then benches second Milk Tank and then scoops up the Radiant Greninja Snorlax, I think that wins him the game. Well, I don't know, because Natalie has 2 prize cards, so if she can get through both Milk Tanks with the Archeops somehow, I don't know. It's so weird. This matchup's so weird. Looks like she is going for the hard retreat of 3 energy to go back in with the Snorlax, and now we're going to be attacking. Oh, we didn't attack with the Snorlax last turn because we attacked with the Luminian, I think. Ooh, there's a Tails. She doesn't wake back up. But that Milk Tank is gone, so we're going to have to see what does Daichi do now. Natalie has 1 prize card left. Daichi has 2 1-prizers in play, neither of which do really much for him at this point. The Radiant Greninja can draw him cards, yes, but what he really wants is another Cry of Destruction Evital, I would suppose, to knock off the energy off the Snorlax and just hope that Natalie, like, prized an energy, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Oh, Natalie did have to retreat 3 off the Stoutland. So if I'm trying to keep track of her energies correctly, if you get one more Cry of Destruction off, Daichi might win. So we do see the scoop up net. Is that the Milk Tank? Okay, that's the next best thing if you don't have the Granite, or if you don't have the Evital. We're going to discard a double twin energy. We get an Eldegoss that can recycle maybe a boss's orders or something. We do have a Galar Mine. You could always maybe boss up Lugia and sit on the Galar Mine. That's a 4 retreat cost Pokemon. She's got... I can't see how many... I can't see the discard pile now. Stream, please. So there is a sizable amount of energy. There might be 8? I can't tell. It's so hard to tell from this bad camera angle. Yep, so now I don't have that information because they changed the camera angle on me. So we are, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, she would still have, even if it's like 8 energy, she would still have access to potentially like 5 more. Oh, so yeah, so bringing up the Stoutland, that has a 5 retreat cost and can't attack through the Mill Tank. So that is actually the best thing to bring up. It also attacks for the same energy that the Lugia would need. We are going to go, looks like for the... Oh, yep, she has the game. She has the game. So we're going to go Luminion for boss's orders on the Snorlax. And then we are going to put 3 energies on with Archeops, attach for turn, and hit for 200, and that is the game. That was still very close. You can see why this deck can do well against Lugia, but Natalie was just too powerful. Her energies were too powerful and colorless. But that is it for this round, guys. Do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe to feed that YouTube algorithm. And come join the Twitch stream sometime, the Discord, the Instagram, the Twitter, the TikTok, the TikToker, Ticker. And I will see you guys next time.